All right, Shalom. There's the brother Nahalia from the GMS Orlando camp. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wakakodash. Do honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yashar Allah, and a sincere salutation to all you Akim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwath, who are believing this word, in all truth and in sincerity. All right, I want to go to a lesson inspired by the article that you see. It's a term that I heard today for the first time, and I wanted to kind of investigate it. And of course, when you look into it, it all goes back to prophecy. All right, so before we begin, I want to get this. This is Daniel chapter 7 and verse 25. All right, and it reads, "And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of times." Now, when you look at the Hebrew word for wear out, all right, it is bala, all right, bala, and it says to wear away, wear out, to harass constantly. All right, now I want to go into this. Bear with me. It says understanding black fatigue and how to overcome it. It says, before she gave the feeling a name, Mary Frances Winters felt it constantly. She calls it a dull, droning sound that is always present and an underlying syndrome of sorts that permeates my very being. It's the exhaustion born of the day-to-day small acts of aggression or small acts of disrespect a black person endures, the endless need to prove your worth, and the constant exposure to news about injustice and violence being inflicted on people who look like you. She calls the feeling black fatigue. And though the problem is not of their making, for the sake of their health, black people need to understand and acknowledge the toll of living with racism, said Winters, a diversity and equity consultant from North Carolina. You have to take care of yourself. Now, for Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, we don't really need a term for it, but, I found this today, and it was spiritual because, the Lord talked about why do you trim your ways to seek love, because our people have to deal with a society, all right, that really goes back to the curses. The Lord said he would, let's go to it. I'm going to just get it. Because living in this society as an Israelite takes a toll on you. That's why Daniel the 7th chapter says that they shall wear out the saints. And it's to a point now where you don't even really, you notice it, but you're so used to it. It's almost like a Tuesday for you. So you don't even realize the gravity of the society we live in. All right. The microaggressions at the workplace, the small acts of disrespect at the workplace or at a grocery store, going out somewhere where you got to handle your business or pay your bills, how dismissive people are. Even though you just continue going about your day, all of those little microaggressions take a toll on you. That's why scriptures talk about wearing out the saints, man. All right. Now, let me go to this. All right. Concerning the curses. This is Deuteronomy 28 and 29. I'll start at 28. Deuteronomy 28 and 28. The Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. And thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness. And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. And thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore. And no man shall save thee. All right. And it's not just being in chains and chattel slavery. And as an Israelite, as a Negro, Latino, or Native American, especially you Negro, Latino, or Native American men, you know exactly that feeling. How people treat you. You're any space you're in outside of being amongst the brotherhood, you're tolerated at best. And you feel it. You know it. We have to maneuver through this world. So, you can't really take everything to heart where you just, crash out on it. But you notice everything. It goes deeper than just the clutching of a purse when you walk past a so-called white woman. Or the dismissive tone that people take when you ask them a question or you ask for directions or, all of those things go back to what the Lord did to us as a nation of people. And again, it causes a certain level of fatigue. Here it is. You have to survive in Babylon the Great as it is. But doing it as an Israelite is even more difficult because everybody has this stereotype about you. And before you even open your mouth, the stereotype comes in before you. As soon as you come into the room, everybody's antennas go up and they think about all the stereotypes of Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And over a period of time, it takes a toll on you, man. This is why, when you think about your own family dynamic, grandpa was the first one to go to the grave. Grandma survived longer than grandpa usually. Because just the toll of trying to provide for a family and doing it as an Israelite causes heart problems, man. All right, stress can literally kill you. All right, so I'm going to go back to this real quick. This is Daniel 7:25. Matter of fact, I want to read this in the NLT. Daniel 7:25 in the NLT, and it reads, "He will defy the Most High," talking about Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, "and oppress the holy people of the Most High." And that's exactly what he's doing, man, continually. And then he'll gaslight our people into believing that because we're not in physical chains, that somehow, all right, we're now free. And that's the furthest thing from the truth, man. And our people have this, and they've been conditioned, all right, to believe that we're free because you have certain liberties on this side. Yet, when you really have a conversation with a Jake in this world, you quickly realize that they feel it too, man. They just go to the wrong places to seek rest and comfort. All right, as a matter of fact, let me go here. All right, this is Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 6. And it reads, "My people have been lost sheep. Their shepherds have caused them to go astray. They have turned them away on the mountains. They have gone from mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place." And where's their resting place? It's with the Heavenly Father. All right. That's why Yahweh Shai said that he would send a comforter. The comforter is this truth. And how are we comforted? We understand that the world that we live in today, the nightmare of being an Israelite in America, is going to come to an end. And that's why we watch prophecy so closely, because that's how we're able to track that salvation. All right. But it was truly constructed. The world that we live in today as Israelites was constructed by the Heavenly Father. All right. Because we sinned against him. And this is why you experience so-called black fatigue. All right. You can eat healthy. You can exercise, but there's still a level of fatigue that you feel. And it's really a sum of all of the burdens of having to walk around being an Israelite and suffering reproach. Even though 2/3 of our people act like they don't feel it, they do feel it, man. All right. This is why the scriptures talk about them going from mountain to hill. They have to go from doctrine to doctrine, from being a Nubian to a 5%er to Kemet. They have to go to these different philosophies to try to find some sort of rest. All right. Or they'll go to some kind of seminar where Jake is telling them we got to get the community together. And then we'll have a fair seat at the so-called white man's table. But in the back of their mind, they don't get rest from that either. All of those doctrines are cisterns that cannot hold water. And this is why our people are not fulfilled in this society. You're already running out of your wits to build your own sealed house. And on top of that, you have to suffer the stigma of being a Negro, Latino, and Native American in America, man. Real quick, let's go here. This is Isaiah chapter 42 and verse 24. And it reads, "Who gave Jacob for a spoil and Israel to the robbers? Did not the Lord, he against whom we have sinned? For they would not walk in his ways, neither were they obedient unto his law. Therefore he hath poured upon him the fury of his anger and the strength of battle, and it hath set him on fire round about. Yet he knew not, and it burned him, yet he laid it not to heart." And see, this article, when you go into it, they're telling you all these little advices that they can give you to, stay healthy in the midst of that. But that's trying to cure a symptom, not the actual disease. The actual disease is that we were disobedient to the Heavenly Father and we got put in this predicament. And instead of our people returning to the Heavenly Father, they're trying to cure all these different symptoms. All right. Matter of fact, let's go here. This is Jeremiah chapter 30 and 15. Why criest thou for thine affliction? Thy sorrow is incurable for the multitude of thine iniquity. So all of the fatigue that we suffer on this side is because we sinned against the Heavenly Father. The Lord didn't do this to us for naught. You know, we earned this. We actually earned worse than this. But this shows you who the children of Israel are, according to prophecy. The scriptures say the curses will be upon us for a sign and for a wonder. Matter of fact, let's get that. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28 and 46. And it reads, I start at 45. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. All right, and that forever just means a long time. So you would be able to identify the children of Israel in these last days by these curses. And it's evident. You don't have an article about Chinese fatigue, man, or yellow fatigue, or Muslim fatigue. You know, this is the heart.org, basically saying that they can track the stress of Israelites health-wise, that the stress of being in this society has an effect on Negro, Latino, and Native American health, man. That's on top of the poor diet. And instead of our people looking for the source, how do we cure the actual disease and not the symptoms? They just continue to head on being rebellious and trying to solve certain symptoms. Economics is a symptom. The fact that we have no might in our hand, that's a symptom. Our community being destroyed, that's a symptom. So-called black on black crime is a symptom. There's a disease that is disobedience. And it's disobedience to the Heavenly Father that's put us in this position. And we know, according to prophecy, only a remnant are going to come to that realization and return to the Heavenly Father. All right, real quick, this is Hosea 5 and 15. I will go and return to my place till they acknowledge their offense and seek my face. In their affliction, they will seek me early. And the remnant are returning to the Heavenly Father and acknowledging our offense. We understand that there's nothing we can do on this side that's truly going to cure the disease that is disobedience outside of returning to the Lord. You know, our people are headstrong on, we just got to build a community. We just need so-called black businesses. That doesn't solve the disease, man. And that disease is truly disobedience. And that's why the Lord said, why should ye be stricken anymore? Our people are to a point now where it's no point. The only thing left for 2/3 of our people is destruction because they refuse to acknowledge their offense. All right, that's like going to the CO in a prison and asking him to change the verdict. He didn't give you the verdict of guilty. The judge did. But you keep talking to the CO like he got that kind of power. Esau don't have that kind of power over you. It's the Heavenly Father, and that's why we're crying unto the Lord. All right, it's Isaiah chapter 1 and 5. Why should ye be stricken any more? Ye will revolt more and more. The whole head is sick, and the whole heart faint. From the sole of the foot even unto the head, there is no soundness in it, but wounds and bruises and putrefying sores. They have not been closed, neither bound up, neither mollified with ointment. And black fatigue is a symptom. All right, that term, black fatigue, the saints being worn out on this side is a symptom. The Lord sicked Esau on us, man. Like a dog on sicking his dog on you. The Lord sicked Esau on us, and this is why we face harassment as a nation of people constantly. Just go on the internet. Everywhere you go, there's this stigma where you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are pointed out, all right, and harassed in one way or another, whether covertly or overtly. And that's not by coincidence. The Lord sent that. Matter of fact, before I continue, there's Isaiah 10 and 5. O Assyrian, the rod of mine anger, and the staff in their hand is mine indignation. So the Lord sent Esau to harass us constantly to create a society where you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are looked down upon, not just by Esau, but every nation outside of us. Even within our own nation, there's divides and divisions. And the Lord did that so that we would return to him. And we know, according to prophecy, only a remnant would. All right, this is going back to Jeremiah 30. I'll start at 12. It says, "For thus saith the Lord, thy bruise is incurable, and thy wounds is grievous. There is none to plead thy cause, that thou mayest be bound up. Thou hast no healing medicines. All thy lovers have forgotten thee. They seek thee not, for I have wounded thee with the wound of an enemy, and the chastisement of a cruel one. For the multitude of thine iniquity, because thy sins were increased. Why criest thou for thine affliction? Thy sorrow is incurable for the multitude of thine iniquity, because thy sins were increased. I have done these things unto thee." And instead of our people acknowledging that, they on the internet talking shit about the Lord. The complete opposite of what this captivity was supposed to do to our people. It was actually supposed to correct them. But we knew, according to prophecy, that 2/3 of our people would pull the shoulder. All right, now I want to go back to that. So I'm going to read Jeremiah 30 and 15. But before I read it again, I want to get that word for sorrow, because it says thy sorrow is incurable. All right, the sorrow says macabre. All right, and it says pain, sorrow, pain physical, pain mental. All right, and that's what this whole term black fatigue is about. The mental anguish Jake suffers on this side, man. Now, we know ultimately through the Spirit, the Lord is going to heal us. As a matter of fact, let's go back to Jeremiah 30. And I'm going to continue at verse 16. It says, "Therefore all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them shall go into captivity, and they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. For I will restore health unto thee, and I will heal thee of thy wounds, saith the Lord, because they called thee an outcast, saying, This is Zion, whom no man seeketh after." All the nations are watching us in our lowest. None of them is coming to help us. As a matter of fact, it's the complete opposite. They're all using this opportunity to take advantage of us. Set up businesses in our neighborhoods and put their kids through college. They're watching us at the lowest of the low. And a lot of these nations already know who we are. And they're just watching us suffer. As it says in Revelation, the 11th chapter, no man suffered to put us in graves. But that's beautiful. Because when the Lord raised us up, beginning with the elect, he's going to get the credit. Not the other nations for throwing an assist, or nobody else. Not even the elect can boast. We boast on the Lord. Lord willing, we be a part of that number. But truly, Yahweh Shema Shai is going to get the credit. That's why he said, "I will restore health unto thee." And then the world is going to see us go from rags to riches, and they're going to acknowledge our Heavenly Father. All right, so with that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yasher Allah, and a sincere salutation to all Yuakim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwath, who are believing this word in all truth and in sincerity. Shalom.